button, record on this computer, because I forget if I don't put that big graphic up. So we'll go ahead and welcome Allie, and I'm going to let you take it away, Allie. I'm so excited about this as I'm sitting with a huge package of cookies behind me. I'm not going to lie.
You know what? That is all right. And we'll talk about why that is all right. And let me share my screen, right? Like, it'd be helpful if you could actually see what I'm talking about. So today's focus is healthy snacking. I was really glad that Marnie had picked this one. Like I said, I've been doing this a lot more recently. And not only is it, I think, good for participants, but this is always a helpful reminder for myself. So I loved the little conversation beforehand where everyone was talking about quarantine 15 or mindless eating, or, kids are at home now, we're at home more often. Even if we are at work, there's still less activities, less things like we're going out and doing. So we are still spending a lot more time in our homes with, pretty free access to foods and snacks. And I think sometimes snacks get a bad reputation where we have like this negative connotation. A lot of fad diets say like, don't snack, it's so bad for you. But snacking can be really great for us, right? So snacks aren't meant to be full-on meals, but they're meant to get us in between meals and can be so helpful. When our body is giving us those signs and signals that we're hungry, we should listen to our bodies, because our bodies know best and they're telling us something that we need to know. And we'll talk about, what does a healthy snack look like and all the differences in there. I do want to just bring attention to the chat as I threw in that first line, that first link is just a presentation form. If you can take a minute to fill that out, that helps us out with our funding. And then the second URL down there is for a Cooking Matters class that we are offering starting this Monday, the 26th at 6 p.m. So this right now is like a one-time presentation. We do this Cooking Matters at Home program that is 5 weeks long and really goes into depth of cooking, healthy eating, physical activity, food budgeting, meal planning, and everything else in between that's in there. And then we are also offering gift cards with that for food, right? So we're not just teaching you like, here's all the things that you should go figure it out. We're going to give you some resources to actually be able to do that. So if you're interested in that, there's a registration link for that. And it's at no cost to you, which is the best part, right? Who doesn't love free things?
Hey, Allie.
Yeah.
Both of those links are going to the registration. So I think we may have the one with the form you'd like us to fill out isn't in there. There we go.
All right, try that one. There we go.
Awesome.
Thank you for letting me know. Perfect. So I'm going to hope that we've probably seen this graphic before, and maybe it ages us a little bit if we remember my pyramid. Back in the day, it used to be my pyramid. It's now my plate. Somebody who does not get enough credit for this realized that we don't eat off of a pyramid, we eat off of a plate. So it makes a lot more sense that we break down our food groups by looking at a plate. So we're going to get into that more. And of course, MSU Extension does not discriminate and is an inclusive and welcoming environment. So we're really excited to be here and excited to have everybody with us. I'm going to skip through these. So let's look at our My Plate. This is how we kind of break down our essential nutrients in easy foods to identify and find. So we have about 7 different essential nutrients. We've got vitamins, minerals, fiber, water, protein, fats, and carbohydrates. I think, Yvonne, right? Did I get them all at once? Usually I have to do all my fingers and remember which ones, which can be difficult to focus on. So we love this My Plate graphic because it breaks down and says, if we use this, and these are the 5 food groups that we eat, we are more likely to get all of the essential nutrients that our body needs. And essential, I think we've heard that word a lot this last year, right? Essential workers, essential jobs, essential PPE, all of it. Essential means we have to have it. It is necessary. It is vital for us to live healthy and very productive lives. So just looking at this first, the big takeaway is that half of everything that we eat should be fruits and veggies. How does this differ from kind of like the typical American plate or maybe like typical restaurant meal that you get?
Um, it don't look like that. Like it's more meat and potatoes. Like
Yeah,
exactly you used to go out and eat, right? Like these like a big meat and like little bitty side of vegetables, steamed broccoli or something perhaps. It
right.
doesn't look like that.
Yeah.
Uh-uh.
Yeah, thanks, Jessica. Yeah, usually I've seen some advertisings for like 16 to 24-ounce steaks or big protein servings. And then you get that, yeah, cup of veggies or, that little cup of coleslaw or something. And looking at this at our My Plate, we actually don't need that much protein, but we really need to get more fruits and veggies. We can actually get all of our essential nutrients just from fruits and vegetables. But we can also get protein sources. We'll have to get some grains. The reason why we want to get grains mostly is because of fiber. Does anybody know what fiber does for you?
It makes you regular.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is that just to make you regular? I remember my grandma saying that to me, like, eat this. No.
And it makes you full and it fills you up.
Yeah. Exactly. So fiber helps you poop. If you don't know that, I'm sorry to be the first one to tell you that, but that's what it does. Everybody poops. It's normal. It's totally regular, no pun intended. So we need fiber for that. But what it does inside of us is that it fills up our stomach faster and keeps us full longer. So fiber is a plant protein that we can't actually break down. So if you've ever eaten celery and you're chewing it and chewing it and chewing it, and there's still those stringy bits that you can't seem to break down enough, that's fiber. We don't have the enzymes to break it down in our bodies. So what it does is it just kind of fills up like bulk. I kind of think of it as maybe like packing peanuts in our stomach. So while it fills us up, it's not adding a lot of additional energy or calories that would be stored as fat maybe, but it's keeping us full longer. We're going to recommend that a lot of our snacks include something with fiber because we use snacks to get us in between meals. They don't need to be as big as meals, but they work as I'm kind of hungry, dinner's not for another couple hours, or I had dinner and I'm going to go to bed in an hour or two, but I just need something. Eating something with fiber, and we'll talk about those different foods, can help fill us up and keep us full longer. And then we also need to have some dairy products too. And dairy can differ. It doesn't have to necessarily be animal products. So there is cow dairy, so milk, yogurt, and cheese, or we could have dairy alternatives. There's oat milk, almond milk, cashew milk, rice milk, coconut milk, soy milk. I think I've gone through most of them. There's probably more out there, but the main thing we're looking for when getting dairy products is vitamin D and calcium. Those support and strengthen bones and teeth. So it's important that at all ages, we're getting some dairy foods. So what's the difference between a serving size and a portion size? What do you think?
Is one where you're supposed to have when you read the little ingredient or the serving size on the thing, like with salad dressing, what you're supposed to get? That's the serving size versus portion size. Is that actually what you put on there? You don't follow? I don't know.
That's basically it, Jessica. You nailed it. So the serving sizes is what we're going to find on our nutrition facts label. So that's where food scientists, nutritional scientists sat down and said, if you eat this food in this amount, this serving, here are all of the nutrients that you will get. And we'll also see on nutrition facts labels, there is a servings per container, and that is how many of those servings fit inside that container. So the bag or the tub or the tube or the box or whatever, how many fit into there. Portion size is very subjective, and it just depends on what we make it. So a portion size can be my handful, it can be a scoop, it could be a bowl full. It's not really measured out, and it differs by person to person. So Jessica, yours is different from mine, which is different from Holly's and Eva's, depending on what it is that we're having. So
yeah, I think about like, when I thought about that when I was answering the question, like, I'm gonna say it, okay, like salad dressing, for example. I love me some ranch. Okay. And I lather that bad boy up on there. And I know that's not what I'm supposed to get, but it tastes so good, right? but yeah, but I understand that now. I'm trying to do better, but yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's a really great point too. And we're never going to tell you that you can't have things. Like, we definitely enjoy a lot of those different stuff. I will always have cookies or some type of a sweet, but I'm not going to be having them all the time. They're going to be sitting in my pantry, and I'm going to be mindful of how much. And that's where this serving size and portion size is really important. So we can enjoy those foods, those different products, but being mindful of how much am I having. And so maybe this will be a little bit shocking, and you'll probably hate me for it, but most things like ranch dressing, barbecue sauce, ketchup, the recommended serving size is only 2 tablespoons, which is just the size of your thumbs. Just like 2 thumbs up. So being mindful that if we're having more than that, everything on the nutrition facts label, we have to add or multiply. And let me go back to sharing my screen. I just want to show the 2 thumbs up method that I like to use. All right. So when we're looking at our snacks, we want to try to incorporate at least 2 out of those 5 My Plate food groups. So we have the fruits, veggies, grain, protein, and dairy. When we make meals, our goal is to get at least 3 My Plate food groups. When we look for snacks, at least 2, because snacks should be smaller than meals. They are not meant to be a full meal. They're in between mini meals, if you want. So by getting 2 food groups at least, and we can get more, but at least 2, we're increasing the nutrients. We're more likely to get a wider variety of nutrients like vitamins and minerals, healthy carbohydrates and fats. Getting more My Plate food groups, it keeps you full longer without those added calories as well, because I'm varying it. If I just eat a protein source, many proteins don't have fiber in them. So if we add plant-based proteins like beans and legumes, still have some fiber. But if the protein snack I decided to have was a slice of turkey deli meat or some jerky, there's not going to be fiber in there. So it's not going to keep me as full longer and quickly. We'll also be getting more vitamins and minerals. There are about 40 different vitamins and minerals that our body needs. So eating a variety of different things, specifically fruits and veggies, is going to help us get those. And then we'll also do an activity in a little bit as well. So looking at this is some whole grain crackers. What would you add to this, some whole grain crackers, to get a second food group for a snack?
If it were my son, I would probably give him a yogurt. If it were me, I would probably have some fruit.
All right. So knowing that there's some differences in our families about what we like, what we don't like, what else might you add with this?
I love cheese, or either hummus. Yeah. So
that's a really great idea.
I'm a dipper, and so is my kid, but yeah, something like that.
That's awesome. Yeah, cheese would go great. And so what food group would cheese be in?
Dairy.
Yes, dairy and some protein too. I like to think of a lot of dairy foods as kind of a buy one, get one free food group. We'll also get some protein in some of those. And then hummus would fall in a little bit of both as well. So hummus is made out of chickpeas or garbanzo beans, and those kind of count as a vegetable and a protein. Does anybody make their own hummus? So there's a really easy way to make hummus if you have a food processor, or a pretty powerful blender will work too, or one of those like, I don't know, bullet kind of blender things. I don't know what they're called. You know what I mean? You put it on there and it blends. So you can take a can of no salt added garbanzo beans or chickpeas, put those in there. Some people like to peel off the very thin layer on those. I don't do that. That's too much time for me. Add a little bit of olive oil or vegetable oil and whatever your favorite spices are and seasonings. So I like garlic powder, onion powder, some white ground pepper. Mix that all up to the consistency that you prefer. And that's as easy as it is to make hummus. You can also make dessert hummus. So instead of adding really savory spices, you can add something a little bit more sweet. So mix it with fruit, a little bit of added sugar, maybe some honey. We want to be mindful about how much added sugar we're consuming. But dessert hummus can be really good with graham crackers, animal crackers, fruit instead of veggies to dip in there. And it's a super easy, very inexpensive snack. A lot of times you go to the store and hummus can be kind of expensive and they're in small tubs and they're loaded with salt, which is one of the nutrients we try to decrease because we tend to overconsume that. Making it yourself is so much easier and less expensive. I think I get cans of garbanzo beans for about 59 cents each. And then I just have to add some spices. So that's a great option, right? Hummus, cheese, we can have some fruit with it. We're getting more food groups. And just thinking about that is I'm going to be able to stay full a little bit longer and feel more satisfied than just having this maybe handful of crackers. What about an apple? What would you add to your apple to get a second food group? So apples fall into fruit. What would you have?
Peanut butter.
Yeah, peanut butter for sure. And peanut butter would be what food group?
A delicious one.
And what is that? A nut? I mean, it's a nut.
I mean,
Is that a grape?
protein.
Protein?
It is a protein, yeah.
It's a
Yeah, it's a little
legume.
bit odd. Like which one does it fit under? So nuts, seeds, tree nuts, we're all going to count those as protein foods. So yeah, peanut butter would work. We could do that dessert hummus with it, right? Because it's a sweet. I have seen, I think it's Aldi does a brownie hummus. Somebody was telling me about that recently. So it's got, some chocolate in there. I have an allergy to chocolate, so I don't try that. But, if you try it, I'm interested to hear how that would taste. What else would you put with the apple?
Okay, so don't judge me.
Judgment-free zone. Go ahead.
My kid, we love sweets, and we've been getting a lot of apples just since, the food distributions and stuff. I've tried to be creative. I've made apple chips, I put them in their smoothies, getting creative. And when I slice them, even like that caramel dip that you tend to see with like around Halloween, just to give it some flavor or something. But that's how we do it. Just like some caramel dip, a little bit of that, dip it in and eat the slices. So
yeah. So I love the apple chip idea. I think those are fantastic because I love really crunchy things. And we can still have things like caramel dip. So that would not count as one of our food groups.
Yeah.
To be some foods that we kind of throw in like an other category because of the amount of added sugar, salt, or saturated and trans fats. But we could add a cheese stick with this or yogurt even, right? So maybe dipping the apple in yogurt, adding a little bit of caramel or honey on top of that. So you still fit that sweet tooth kind of craving and we're getting dairy and protein.
In the chat, Holly also mentioned that she has had the chocolate hummus and it is delicious.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Thanks, Holly, for sharing that. So that's a good thing to know as an additional snack thing. So, you can try to make it yourself. I'm sure that there are some recipes online. If you visit cookingmatters.org, and Eva, if you could toss that link into the chat, cookingmatters.org, there is a recipe for black bean brownies, I believe. That, again, I don't eat chocolate, but a lot of my work colleagues that do the cooking demonstrations with that absolutely love the black bean brownies. So you use that in there. They make it for their kids. Nobody ever notices that there are beans in there. They cannot tell. They're getting protein, they're getting veggies, and it's limiting that added sugar. And kids just think that they're having brownies. They're having a really sweet dessert. And nobody ever has to know, right? Sometimes we have to trick our family members eating those fruits and veggies. But as long as they're eating them, that's our goal. All right. So I want to shift gears a little bit from the food part to some beverages, because a lot of the times we will drink beverages that have a lot of energy. So calories are just a measurement of energy, added sugar or sodium in there. Who's ever heard of the term empty calories before? Right? Or been told, don't drink all of your calories, right? Or if you drink all that soda, it's going to spoil your dinner or something like that.
That's a
Empty
big one in
calories.
our house, definitely. The
Yeah.
empty calories.
Yeah, it used to be a big one too. I hear a lot less people saying it, but for me growing up, it was always being told that. So that refers to foods that we call energy dense. So they have lots of energy, lots of calories, but not a lot of nutrients versus nutrient dense foods. So that kind of sounds like what it is that these are foods that are jam-packed with nutrients. They might be high in calories too, but we're also getting things like vitamins, minerals, fiber. So let's take a look at this. We've got lemonade on one side and then milk on the other. What are our thoughts about these with snacks?
I mean, lemonade's not a snack, it's just a drink. It tastes good. There's nothing going on there but fun. But with milk, at least you get some protein and you've got your dairy component there. So if you have to choose one or the other, I mean, I would guess I would push the milk on my child over the lemonade most
Yeah,
times.
I love that idea. There's nothing going on but lots of fun. That is a fun way of saying it. So yes, when we're looking at these, we're in our food groups, the milk is a dairy food and we're getting some protein, we're getting vitamin D and calcium, which help with our bone and teeth strength and growing for kids. But the lemonade doesn't. So this isn't 100% fruit juice. When we are looking for fruit juice, the goal is 100% fruit juice so that we can limit the added sugar. So the difference between added sugar and natural sugar is kind of what it sounds like. Added sugar is added, right? Natural sugar naturally occurs. Think of the apples, bananas, oranges, sweet potatoes. If I take a bite into them, there's some natural sweetness and I didn't have to add anything to it. But there's no lemonade tree or soda tree and candy vine where I can just go pluck it and start to drink it or take a bite of it. It had to be made, so sugar had to be added in there. And added sugar is not an essential nutrient. And a lot of times we tend to overconsume that. And it finds itself a lot into snacks. So drinks like this, processed snacks, convenience snacks. So this is just a really good example of if for ourselves, for our kids, if we can pick a beverage that has more nutrients in it versus these ones that have a lot of added sugar. And we know with that term empty calories, I can drink this and I'm not going to feel very full. And neither will our kids. They're going to be like, okay, I drank this, but can you give me something that's actually going to fill me up? So being mindful, if there's a choice, let's do something like milk or a dairy product or 100% fruit juice over something like lemonade.
Allie, going off of the lemonade, something that I really like to do is take some sort of sparkling water and then mix that with a 100% fruit juice. I like cranberry juice. And so it's decreasing the amount of calories that you're getting from that juice, but giving you the same nice, sweet feeling that you want from a lemonade.
Yeah. And cookingmatters.org has that recipe too of mixing it with sparkling water. I think it's called their raspberry lime fizz drink. And that's a great way to increase some fruit consumption with 100% fruit juice, but also increase our water consumption if we find that we're not drinking enough water or we're struggling to get our kids to drink enough water. It's recommended that you drink half of your body weight in ounces of water every single day. So if you find yourself, you just don't like the way water tastes, you prefer juice, if you cut it in half with something like a carbonated water, then you're getting more water, but you can still enjoy it, mix some fruit in there. It's really great in the summertime. I like to add fresh mint, some lime or lemon, and then other like frozen fruit instead of ice because it's cold already. It keeps it cold. It doesn't water it down, but it's going to help you get more water throughout the day. All right, so the next one I want us to look at is popcorn versus chips. Which one do you think would be a more nutritious snack for us and our kids?
I'm going to say the popcorn would probably be more nutritious but I like chips because I don't like having the popcorn husk stuck in my teeth. So I don't even eat popcorn. But I
Oh,
know
that's a
the
good
chips have a
point,
lot
yeah.
of sodium and stuff in it. I think like with all the fake flavors like barbecue and cheese, which tastes good. But yeah, I would think the popcorn would be the better choice.
Yeah, so the popcorn would be the more nutritious choice because popcorn is actually a whole grain. So that means that we're getting fiber in there. The potato chips, not so much. And so potatoes are a vegetable, but we're not really going to count potato chips too much as a vegetable food group food because of the way that we're cooking them with lots of oil, so lots of fats, and then also, like mentioned, a lot of that salt and sodium in there. And when we compare the amount of energy and the serving sizes for popcorn and chips, we can get a lot more in the popcorn than we can in the chips. So for the same amount of calories, I can have this larger bowl of popcorn versus this smaller bowl of chips, which can be good for us if we're pretty hungry and it's just not mealtime yet. Or if we find ourselves being more mindless eaters, where we're just sitting there, we need something to do, so we're eating, and then we look down, and it's like, why am I eating this whole bag of chips or this whole roll of cookies? So that can be helpful too, to kind of control and not over consume during snack time. This is another example of those serving sizes that differ specifically between a whole grain cracker and a not whole grain cracker. The whole grain, whole wheat foods have fiber in them versus the refined grains. They're going to have either no fiber or very little fiber. So same amount of energy coming from here, but we're going to be able to get all of these crackers, these whole wheat crackers. I can't even count because they're stacked on top of each other versus just 5 of these buttered crackers. So think about when you need a snack and you want to be able to have more, or your kids are like, I'm really hungry. I've been playing outside. I need something, but you're like, I'm making dinner right now. What can I give you to be able to get you by until dinner's ready? Which option would be better for us to pick? So reading those nutrition fact labels can be really, really helpful. The next thing that I like to use is Go Slow and Whoa foods. So it's kind of similar to us using our My Plate. Go Slow and Whoa is a way that we can tell how much of these foods and how often of these foods can we be having them. So I thought there was something on a different slide. I won't go quite yet. The Go foods, the green light foods, are foods that we can have all the time. These are everyday foods multiple times a day. So think of whole fruits and veggies, apples, oranges, sweet potatoes, carrots. They don't have many changes to them. Think of low-fat dairy options. So low-fat milk, yogurt, low-fat cheese, or reduced sodium. Think of lean proteins, beans, nuts, seeds, legumes, lean cuts of meat. So chicken, seafood, poultry, those are all going to be lower in fat for us. And then whole grain foods, so whole grain crackers, whole grain bread, brown rice over white rice. These are our Go foods. So we'll have them multiple times, different meals every single day. Slow foods are sometimes foods. These might be once a day or a couple of times a week. A lot of the time, slow foods are Go foods that have just had something added or changed to them. So some examples might be, we have carrots as a Go food, but when I dip it in ranch, I'm going to count that as a slow food because ranch can be higher in fat and salt and some added sugar. So I can still have them, but maybe that's just for a snack instead of a huge portion. And maybe I'm just having that a couple of times a week. So these can be a little more fatty cuts of meat. These can be maybe not as low fat dairy products. Again, fruits and veggies that have something added to them. So that might be like our apple slices with a little bit of that caramel drizzle on top. And then our whoa foods, our red light foods, our foods that say, hold on, wait a minute, Mr. Postman, let's not have these all so much and so often. I think of these as luxury or treat items. So a lot of times we think like, well, ice cream and candy and cookies. Some go foods can very easily become woe foods. So our apple is a go food, but when I turn that into an apple pie, I add butter, so that saturated fats, trans fats, lots of added sugar, right? Lots of white sugar, some brown sugar, and some salt, it becomes a woe food. And I'm never gonna tell you you can't have these woe foods, but these are things where we should really be savoring and enjoying these and not over consuming them. So again, desserts, apple pie, cakes, cookies, sodas, candy, certain convenience foods that are really high in salt. So potato chips, the pre-made Chex Mix kind of things that might have some go or slow foods in them, but either the way that they're processed and made or things that are added on top of them turn them into a woe food. Are there any questions about how we break down the go slow woe before I move on to our next part? All right, so just as important as knowing what foods we should eat and how often and how much is making sure that we're using up that energy. Remember that I had mentioned that calories are a way to measure energy. Well, food is fuel. Just like we put gasoline in our car to make it go, we got to put food inside of our bodies to make us go and be able to do things and feel good. And to use up that energy, we're physically active. So I'm going to encourage us to all do some physical activity together. You are not required to do this with us. This is, just an encouraged activity. You know your body best. So if something hurts, it's uncomfortable, it doesn't work for you, don't do it. Change it up. Modify it however you want. I want us to be mindful that when we are trying new activities that we haven't done before, always talk with your doctor, have that conversation. That's really important. And again, you know your body best. Listen to what your body's saying, just like we listen to our body when our stomach's growling, we got a headache, we're feeling thirsty, and those are some signs of being hungry and thirsty. If our muscles are screaming at us and saying, I am tired, this is not for me, let's slow down. Let's take a break, take a minute. Always remember to breathe. Make sure that you're not holding your breath when you're exercising, because we're strengthening our lungs just like we're strengthening our muscles. So we're going to practice our go slow woe foods in this activity. I'm going to invite us all to stand up, give yourself some space. And as we do this, if the food that we show, you believe it's a go food, we will march in place. So everybody practice, do some marching in place, get your legs moving, get your arms moving. Again, making sure that we're breathing. If you think this food is a slow food, you can go ahead and do side steps. And if you're feeling a little bit of an extra challenge, you can do some side steps and a crunch, or not a crunch, what is this, a squat? You know what I mean, a squat. So if you're feeling it, you can do that. And then if you think it is a woe food, you can go ahead and do some arm punches. If you're looking for a little bit more of a challenge, you can go ahead and grab maybe some books, a water bottle or something, and use those if you're feeling it. And again, these are activities you can take with you. I see Eva's got her water bottles, and do them at any time. So an apple, what are your thoughts? Go slow or woe? What activity? Yeah, I'm seeing some marching in place. We're going to march in place with this one. So an apple would be a go food. When we think of go foods like fruits and veggies, we want them to be whole foods. And I'm not talking about the grocery store. I mean the food in its most natural state. So again, having a whole apple versus applesauce or an apple pie. What about ice cream? Yeah, I'm seeing some punches forward. We're going to count ice cream as a woe food. This is one of those treat luxury foods. Let's enjoy it, really savor it. Even though ice cream is made with dairy foods, it has a lot of added sugar in there. It can be loaded up with some saturated or trans fats and sometimes some extra salt. All right, what do you think about wine or alcoholic beverages? This one we're also going to consider a whoa food as well, right? We need to be mindful about how often, how much. So there tends to be a lot of added sugar in some of these drinks. They also dehydrate us. So alcohol, along with drinks that have caffeine, so coffee, energy drinks, or with lots of added sugar, will dehydrate us. What about a pretzel? So this one, I know it's a little bit confusing. It's kind of on the edge. It could be a go, could be a slow. So pretzels can be a whole grain food. However, if I got those extra salted pretzels or pretzels with, they're like covered in chocolate or some type of sweet thing on there, then it might be considered a slow food. So some foods might sit on the bench. All right, what about a hamburger and a soda? Yeah, we're going to consider this a whoa food. Maybe if we are making it ourselves and we swap out that soda for water, low-fat milk, we do that fruit juice with the carbonated water, that would be a great option for us. But if we're maybe doing a restaurant or fast food, this might be a once in a while. This is not going to be an every single day food. How about a hot dog? Right, this one might be a slow to a whoa food as well. Some things that we can do to make this go from a whoa food to a slow food, because I know that hot dogs can be a really beloved grilling out food in the summertime, is having a whole wheat bun, choosing some different veggie options to put on top. So having some onions, some tomatoes, cutting up little pickles to make your own relish can help reduce some of that extra salt, give you some fiber, give you some more nutrients. How about a muffin? So a lot of the times, if we're buying these muffins, they might be a whoa food. But if we're making them ourselves and being mindful of what we're putting in there, then we can make them a slow food. Something that I like to do when I'm baking muffins is, instead of using eggs, I will put a banana in there because it can take the place. It helps do the binding of that. And it's adding a little bit of extra fruit in there. And if it's a pretty sweet, fruity muffin already, you can't taste it. I also do it with my cornbread when I like to make a sweet cornbread. If you put a banana in there, it adds to that sweet corn flavor. What about grapes? Grapes is a go food. We can march in place with this one, right? It's a fruit. It's at its most natural state. We didn't change anything to it. We can count this as a go food. How about caffeinated tea? This one we can count as a slow food to be mindful. The reason why is because that caffeine can dehydrate us. If it's a decaffeinated tea, then we can make that a go food. Right? And then being mindful, am I putting a lot of added sugar in there? Is it one of those sweet teas where half of it is just sugar? Or is it just a cup of hot tea? How about chicken? Yes, this is a go food. This is one of our lean protein options. It's got less fat in it. If we take the skin off, that's going to help reduce the fat as well, but it is a leaner protein. And popcorn, what do we think? Right, just like we talked earlier in the slides, this can be a go food because it's a whole grain. It's a fantastic snack. And candy. This one we're gonna throw in with our whoa foods. Yeah, exactly. So not only does it have lots of added sugar in it, not a lot of nutrients, especially with our young ones, we wanna be mindful of what all that sugar can do to our teeth. It can cause a lot of tooth pains, tooth decay, cavities. So just being mindful how often we're doing those. All right, before we sit down, everybody take a deep breath in through our nose, out through our mouth. So in and out. Do that one more time. In and out. All right, y'all can sit back down. So So I'm curious, who knows how much physical activity do kids need every single day?
Well, definitely not what they're getting now. That's for sure. um, what, like 20 or 30 minutes a day at least, maybe?
I'm gonna go with 60.
It is 60. So for anyone under the age of 18, it's recommended to get 60 minutes of physical activity every single day. It doesn't always have to be at once, right? We can have them mix it up, go for 10-minute walks, or go play for a half an hour and then break it up more. We don't have to just say, go and run for 60 minutes and then you're fine. We can break it up. So,
yeah, what I did with my daughter, I signed her up for sports, and then they had a practice, and then it stopped, and then they got a practice tomorrow and a game. But like I said, I've been at home, and boy, have I had to be creative. I'm old school. I still got my Nintendo Wii. Okay, so and I got her a Switch, so some Just Dance, and just trying to make it fun. You know what I mean? We live near a park, but I don't get out as much as I need to. But just that's because there's no PE. I'm having to be conscious about what we do. You know what I mean? So I'm like, we got to make this work somehow, kid. We got to make this work.
That's a great point, Jessica, about making it work while we're at home more often. I love the idea of using things like video games if we already have them. Use the games that have them be more physically active. And then just incorporating a little bit more physical activity in. I like to do it while I'm doing house chores. So when I'm putting laundry away and I'm holding my laundry basket, I'll do some extra squats. When I'm vacuuming, I might do some extra lunges. So have the kids make a game out of it. What other activities and exercise can you do when you're putting the dishes away? Maybe as you're putting the dishes up on a higher shelf, they'll do some toe raises and stand up on their toes. Have them figure out new things to do. So kids have to get 60 minutes a day. What about adults? How much should we be exercising?
I should know this because you told us this last week. 30 minutes a day? Or did they do it by the week though? It's like 150 minutes a week or something like that.
Yes, it is 150 minutes a week, which is roughly 30 minutes a day for 5 days a week. That's the minimum recommendation. You can definitely get more than that, but that is the minimum. So it's less than kids need because we're not growing as kids are still growing. They're still building more muscle and developing and strengthening their bones. We still need it for lots of different reasons. Physical activity for all ages is helpful with building and maintaining muscles, proper weight management. It strengthens our lungs, so our respiratory system. It strengthens our blood flow, and our heart, so our cardiovascular system. It's heart healthy. When we exercise, we release an endorphin chemical, which is that happy chemical in our brain, which is why you might exercise and feel kind of relaxed or happy or energetic afterwards, because you're releasing that chemical. Physical activity has been shown to reduce symptoms of stress, depression, and anxiety. So what are ways that you can get more physical activity in every single day?
One thing I always find is that it's hard for me to start the physical activity, but once I'm doing it and I'm getting those endorphins released, I actually enjoy working out or just being active. And so something that I do is just set a routine. I've set it so in the morning I get up, I have a dog, so I take her for a walk. During my lunch break, I do the same, and then at night. So I'm getting out 3 times a day and splitting it up, but it's a routine that I stick to, and it works for me.
That's a great option, Eva. And I think we can do that with our kids too, right? So kids learn by mimicking what we're doing, right? They absorb everything that we're doing. So incorporating them into your physical activity routine, going for a walk together. Jessica, you mentioned there's a park around where you are, maybe just walking to the park for a little bit, or having them do some activities together, do the Just Dance with them, do those video games together so that they can see that it's important for them to exercise just as important it is for us to exercise. Any other thoughts?
We try really hard to I think like you said, Allie, just remember that it doesn't have to be like exercise. Like even if it's like, if you live in a 2-story house and you need to use the restroom, it's like walking upstairs instead of going to the one on that floor. Or just taking the long way around like your house to go somewhere else. With my son who's 12, he really still just likes to have a good old fashioned Nerf gun fight. And like, you don't think about that as exercise, but 20 minutes later, like you are sweating and hot and,
Oh yeah, it's
and like out of
intense.
breath, and then finding the weird place to hide so you can rest and pretend like that's like an ambush and not that you're just tired. But so yeah, I think for us this last year, it's really just been that, like trying to find, yeah, just ways to move that don't feel like, oh, I got to go exercise, because nobody wants to go exercise.
Yeah, exercise has tends to have a really negative connotation. It feels like a punishment or a chore. And I love the idea of reframing it as something fun that we enjoy. So there's exercises that you do not like. So for example, I'm a terrible runner. I have very bad runner's form. I've been told it multiple times by multiple people, and it explains why I never enjoy it. But I really love walking. I can just walk for miles and miles and miles. I love to kayak in the summertime, and I live right around a park. So I live in Lansing, right by Hawk Island. So there is a perfect place to go kayaking for me. And that works. And I enjoy it because it doesn't feel like it's a chore, right? Making those games. So doing something fun where you're playing tag, you're playing Nerf with the kids. So it doesn't feel like a punishment either, right? Reframing it, exercise is good for us and we should be having fun. We should be enjoying it. And it doesn't have to be that full, we got to do it for 60 minutes and we can't stop. Go for 10-minute bursts, do something for a half hour, a 15-minute walk, right? Break it up, make it easier to do. So before we close too, I just want to show a couple other examples of some great snacks that we can choose from. Having a bowl of fruit sitting out is a really great way, especially because we're at home, to make us choose a healthier option, right? So out of sight, out of mind, in sight, in mind. What I like to do, I didn't used to do it before when I was actually working back in the day when you were allowed to leave your home, when I would go out places. I have a kind of accordion pantry door. I used to leave it open. I now close that so that I can't see what foods and what snacks are in there. And I keep my bananas and my apples sitting out on my island where it's easier for me to notice it. And I'm less likely to walk past it and go into my pantry and find some crackers or pretzels or something. Mixing crackers with some canned tuna fish or canned chicken. Have your kids make something fun with it, right? Create something interesting, add some cheese, a different sauce, make like mini pizzas on there. Snacks don't have to be boring. We've got a dip here. This is a mango dip, and this recipe is also on cookingmatters.org. With some tortilla chips. Here's yogurt with blueberries and almonds. This is 3 My Plate food groups. We're getting grains, whole grains with the oatmeal. And then I think there's some yogurt underneath. So that is a dairy / protein. We've got fruit in the blueberries. And actually for another protein is our almonds. Making a salad with all different types of mixed veggies. Or just cut up some fruit, add some cheese and some crackers like some of us mentioned earlier. It doesn't have to be a lot of prep, a lot of, thoughts of, oh my gosh, what am I going to mix? Just grab some different stuff, throw it on a plate, and it's a great snack. So with our last couple of minutes, I just want to leave it open. If there's any last thoughts, comments, questions, compliments, I will take those too before we wrap up.
Yeah, thank you guys. This is very informative. I had already started this journey of kind of thinking about reframing my eating habits. I mean, I'm small anyway. Like I'm like barely 5'3". I give myself that inch when my hair is out. But I've definitely seen the weight change. Like I gained weight, and I know it was because of snacking. Even Marty can attest to it. We've had so many Zoom meetings because part of our job is actually to go out and meet with parents and hold meetings, and we just have not been able to do that. So thank you for that. I did have a few questions about some of the snacking. I love nuts. I've gotten my kid into eating them. She does not like almonds. I do, but like she loves cashews. She'll eat walnuts and all types of stuff like that. I know at Meijer and Kroger, they have like the prepackaged sections, like with the nuts and stuff, which I've grown to love those too. But now I'm thinking about it, maybe they're not the best thing. Like they have like the corn, the corn nuts, like the fried corn, chocolate covered almonds, dark chocolate covered almonds, and that whole section. So I was just curious to know about like just do I pay attention to some of the ingredients on there too, especially the salted ones, right? Or the lightly salted or the sea salt, but just pay attention to those ingredients. But is that a good direction where I'm going in terms of
100%. Yeah, you're already on the right path of what to notice. So looking at those nutrition facts labels, so look for added sugar, you want to lower that, and then that salt. And when it comes to those different types of salt, like I've seen sea salt, pink Himalayan salt, I think there's a fancy new like black charcoal salt or something like that. In the grand scheme of things, our body breaks it down the same way. So you don't pay extra money to get, the very fancy one unless you want to. It is going to be more cost effective to buy like a bigger bulk of peanuts or cashews or almonds. And then you can add things like some chocolate chips, mini M&Ms, yogurt covered raisins or dried fruit, and then individually package them.
Okay. And the one other thing I wanted to point out too, when we were doing the game, I know we had the hot dog as an example, and you were like, oh, a wheat bun. That's something I would not totally have thought of, but a way to kind of like healthify our foods, if you will.
Yeah.
To kind of like just choose which options are things to do that way too. So and even with baking too, I haven't done as much as I want to. My last name is a baker, literally. And I do like
it's in the name.
But just being cognizant of just like what I'm putting in, like some of those substitutions, like with the bananas or just as opposed to eggs and stuff too. So I'm definitely gonna check out the website because I'm constantly just trying to revamp it and changing my habits. Because originally I'm from Alabama. I love the South, but we put bacon on everything. And that's how I grew. And cheese. We if you can fry it, you can do it. So I'm just just trying to change some of those habits, especially with being virtual and seeing that. So yeah, that's all I got.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. Those are some great ideas and a great path to start thinking about that.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Thoughts or questions before we wrap up? I do want to remind, if you can fill out that bit.ly link and then go to that Cooking Matters link if you're interested in signing up for that program. That's going to start this Monday at 6 p.m.
Thank you, Allie. I just want to say what really helps me and my kid is when he's like, especially in that midday off, meal times, and he's asking me for stuff. I say, do you want a snack or do you want a treat? Like, are you hungry or do you just are you wanting something sweet or you want, because I think sometimes that's where the snacking gets a bad rap because people think of snacking as like treats. It doesn't have to be treats. Like it doesn't have to be some sugary, it doesn't have to be a cookie. It doesn't have to be whatever. Like a snack can be like real food. But I think that it kind of gets confused for a lot of people. So it's like, do you want, what is it that you're actually after? Like, are you actually hungry or are you just craving something? And that kind of helps suss things out a little bit in those conversations.
Yeah, this is a great way to reframe it. Have them start thinking about what is their body actually asking of them. Am I my stomach growling or am I just bored? Or just kind of have that sweet craving. Great idea.
Yeah, there's so much of that boredom eating happening, I think, for all of us
in
the last year. Just you're feeling unsettled and you want to do something. So it's like, oh, I'm going to eat. And it's like, no more eating, guys. It's been hard.
Thank you.
Yes, Allie, thank you so much.
Having us.
Eva, thank you.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. And we'll definitely have you back. It's been really fun.
Awesome. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Thank you. You too.
Bye.
Bye. So just a couple quick parent coalition things. Holly, mostly for you. We've got 2 things coming up in the next couple of weeks. Next week, we have our parent cafe. And if you haven't joined us before, please consider doing so. That's just a time for parents to get together and we have guided conversations about all things parenting. And it's a really good time. And it's usually a nice small group. So it's a fantastic way to get to know some other parents and caregivers in your community. And then next month we have another MSU extension expert with us talking about positive discipline, and that's going to be on Wednesday, May 12th at 7 p.m. So if you're interested in that, definitely register. And registration links for both of those will go out in an email to you as well. And that's, oh, one more thing. We also, just kind of sharing with everybody that we have a care coordinator on staff right now that is helping families who may be looking for childcare, preschool, maybe early intervention referrals, developmental screenings, all kinds of fun stuff like that. So if that's something you or somebody you know might be in need of, definitely give us a call and we will get you hooked up with Betsy and she can help walk you through and kind of navigate that process and get you hooked up with the quality care that you might need. And lastly, we do a raffle giveaway, but Holly, since you're my only parent today, you automatically win. So I will send you an email with details on how to get that to you. And thank you so much for coming.